Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Jan Fortman with the Relationship Matters TV show. I hope everyone is having a beautifully glorious morning, afternoon, or evening. I'm here right outside of Chicago. And you know what? If my Mitsubishi Spider convertible um, wasn't in the garage with junk all in it, I could have been riding around today with my hair blowing in the breeze. It was 52 degrees. And I know some of you are probably, on the West Coast or in the South where it's probably 70 or 80. You're probably like, what? Well, you know what? We were so happy. It was glorious. It was glorious. This is February and we don't have 4 or 5 inches of snow. Ugh, it's it's marvelous. Marvelous. Well, what is today? Well, guess what? Today is the beginning of Black History Month. Yes, we are celebrating Black History Month. Not going to say anything other than it's a wonderful, wonderful month, but it's only 28 days in this month. So, what I want to do is I have a Black History fact. Little known Black History fact. Now, you'll probably be wondering, who is this woman? Well, her name is Rebecca Lee Crumpler. Now, Rebecca Lee Crumpler was born Rebecca Davis. So I guess she got married to a Crumpler. Anyway, Rebecca was an American physician, nurse, and author. After studying at the New England Female Medical College in 1864, she became the first African American woman to become a doctor of medicine in the United States. So that is my little known Black history fact today. Now, oops, trying to get out of it. Save it. No, go, go. Come on. No, I don't want to save it. Okay. All righty. I'm back. And so just a little known Black history fact. So today I have on my earrings to celebrate Black History Month. Today, what I'm going to talk about now, some of you, or most of you, some of you actually know that I am a mother-daughter relationship coach. And what I do is I coach adult daughters and their moms, and I help them to navigate the challenges in that relationship. That is a relationship that affects all of us. It affects our personal lives, it affects our professional lives. And sometimes we think that it just affects us as women, but it affects you out there who are men. And I like to say this, that that's a relationship that sometimes we talk about when there's issues. We talk about it silently, and but we don't really come out and say that this relationship is often misunderstood. It's like a roller coaster, actually. So, and when I think of a roller coaster, I think of the highs and the lows. The screaming, the yelling, the laughter, the crying. All of that is in this dynamic relationships. So, what I wanted to talk about, I have a conversation, really, not just me talking, but have a conversation about internal boundaries. and how our internal boundaries affect the conversations that we as women have with our daughters and with our moms. So let's get into it now. I don't want to do all the talking, even though I like to talk. I don't want to do all the talking. I want you out there, if you have something that you would like to comment on, a question that you have, please, please, please participate. So let's hop into this. Now, first of all, some people ask me, well, why do you call yourself a coach? And you consider yourself an expert? Yes. And I'll tell you why. Because this comes from my own personal journey. If you notice, most speakers, um, coaches, consultants, psychologists, they come from their own journeys, because when things happen to you, when it's your journey, then you can talk about it. And then when you learn from your journey, then you can help other people. And that's really what I really love to do, is to see mamas and daughters come together and have a loving, harmonious relationship. So let's get into this now. Effective communication between adult daughters and their moms can be a delicate balance, as we know, especially as the dynamics of this relationship evolve over time. And internal boundaries in this communication, now let me say what it is. It refers to the internal checks we have when we're speaking with people, and how we control these boundaries, especially if they tend to be maybe a little negatively affecting our conversations, how we control them so that we can have respectful conversations, compassionate conversations, and understandings, and trying not to have so misunderstandings. So I'm going to give you just a few tips on how to control our internal boundaries. And actually, even though this has to do with mothers and daughters, you can use this in just your regular conversations with people. So, number one, reflect before you speak. So, before you react to something or respond to something that your mom or your daughter has said, or just a friend, a professional colleague has said, take a moment to reflect and think about, is what I'm going to say, is this going to be beneficial to the conversation? Is it going to be kind? Uh, if it's even necessary, okay? Because often when we're having a conversation, we're listening, but not really, because we're thinking about how we're going to respond. So reflect before you say something that might end up being misunderstood, or just might be a negative conversation. And that goes into number two, practice active listening. In other words, really listen to what the person is saying, not listening to say, okay, so how am I going to respond to this? How am I going to answer this? What am I going to say about this? Active listening is you listen to the other person without immediately trying to think of how you're going to respond. Because when you do something like this, you can see where they're coming from, what perspective they're coming from, and what feelings they have about what they are saying. And this goes into number three, avoiding assumptions. It's so easy to do. It's sometimes so easy for us to jump to conclusions of what we think the person is saying. And we don't always know what that person is feeling, um, what that person means. However, if you're really not sure, or if you feel that, you know, well, they probably mean this, ask, clarify. What do you mean by this? And that's good, especially if someone says something to you, your mom, your daughter, your friend, your colleagues, and you kind of maybe like, wait a minute, maybe get a little hurt feeling, or what is this? You know, what did that person mean? Ask. And you don't have to say, what do you mean about this? No, you just sometimes what you can repeat what they say, and then just say, am I understanding you correctly? This is what I'm getting from what you are saying. Now, mothers and daughters, we do this a lot. Uh, and I like to tell the story of mothers and daughters. Now, the the mother can see the daughter, and maybe she's dressed a certain way, and she might say, "Oh, you know what? I really like the way you look today." Now, a daughter can think, "Now, what does she mean about that? Uh, I had something on yesterday that I thought was cute. She didn't say that yesterday. I guess she didn't like what I said, yes, or what I was wearing yesterday." That's jumping to a conclusion, you know. And what else is that doing? That's not doing active listening. So I just want you to think about that. Number 4, stay away from absolute terms. What I mean by that is using the words like always and never. Because when we use that, sometimes it can be accusatory. You always say this, or you always uh, tell me no, or you always will. I thought that when I said it the other day or last week, or anytime I said, you always respond this way. Never, don't use. I started to use that. I started to use that absolute term. I started to say never. When you have your conversations, don't use always and never. In other words, let's say you never listen to me. Uh, Maybe that person doesn't listen to you always, but saying that you never listen to me, how do you know? Really? So that's being, I would say, accusatory. And it puts the other person on the defensive. So what do you think about that? I hear my phone buzzing, so I think someone probably has a comment that or a question that I'll look at a little later. And number 5, be aware of emotional triggers. Recognize that certain topics or certain words might evoke a strong emotion, and it can be a strong negative emotion for the person you're talking to, or even to you. Especially if we're talking about, what are the 2 things we say we don't ever want to talk about in a conversation, especially in a group of people around the dinner table? The 2 things, you know what they are: politics and religion. And you know those 2 subjects are going to evoke some deep, heavy feelings that are going to trigger emotions. And so I just pick on those 2. I'm just talking about those 2. But there could be others. Now, I'll use mothers and daughters. Let's say, and as mothers, we have a tendency, even though our daughters are adults, or even our sons are adults, we sometimes, as they say, get into their videos or get into their business. Now, you're a mom and you raised your daughter a certain way, but you're looking at the way your daughter is raising your grandchildren, and maybe you don't really approve, or maybe she's just doing it differently. If you say the wrong thing, it's going to cause a negative, it's going to trigger a negative emotion. I'll say it like that. Because the daughter really might feel that she's doing everything right, or she's doing it like she wants to do it. That can be, and I've seen it, and it's happened to me, where my mother thought, I wasn't raising not that I wasn't raising my son right, but that she had her own ideas about how I should raise my son. Well, I didn't want to hear it. So it would trigger a negative emotion in me. Like, you know, stop trying to tell me what to do. But so I'm just saying that in a lot of conversations, not just mothers and daughters, but a lot of conversations, we might have a tendency to, as they say, poke the bear or use certain words that we know is going to trigger something emotional, some negative emotion. Now, number 6, respect. Maintain respect, no matter how heated a conversation becomes, especially when we're talking about religion or politics. So when I say be respectful, don't insult the person. Don't start name calling, and don't use belittling comments like you don't know what you're talking about. Um, just and sometimes we resort to that because we are defensive, and so what we do is we get on the offensive. So maintain that respect. You can have a different opinion about all kinds of things. Ooh, my phone is really buzzing. You can have different opinions about all kinds of things, but be respectful. Don't call the person that you're stupid. Oh, well, you're just dumb, or you don't know anything. No, that is being disrespectful. So let me see. I think I see some comments. Well, I don't see any on here, but what I'm thinking is, and I'll go to a commercial and get the comments off my phone. Now, this one is very important. Using I statements. Instead of saying, you make me feel this way, use I statements. And when I say that, what I mean is, I feel this way when you say this. Not you make me feel this way. I feel this way. Because actually you're not being offensive. So, if plus the fact, when you do this, when you say, well, you make me this and you make me feel that, this helps. What it does, it puts the other person on the defensive. And what you're doing is you're putting the blame on the other person, because the other person can't make you feel anyway. It's you. You make yourself feel that. Okay? So use the I statements. I feel this way when you say this, or I feel this way when you do this. So that's just, how many was that? Oh, wow, that's 7. I got 7 more. But what I'm going to do right now is I got to go to a commercial, and then I'm going to look and see the comments that I know my phone is buzzing. So I'm going to go there. Now, I want to say this, and because someone just put in the chat, they are a fellow Toastmaster, and they are counting my ums and my ohs, and they know that my favorite word that I should not be saying is so. So I am going to commercial. I do not want to see the numbers. You can tell me that later. Okay. Don't go anywhere. I will be right back. Put your stuff in the comments. Let me know what's going on. Okay. Okay, we are back with our conversation, generations and conversations, and just some tips on how to have a healthy mother-daughter relationship. So you men out there, you got sisters. I know you got a mother, wives, neighbors. If you hear something that I've said and you feel that you can offer this information or just offer this as because this is going to be on YouTube, that they can go to YouTube and watch it. Okay. Now, this is the one I really, really like. Understanding the power of nonverbal communication. Now, I know you've heard it, but nonverbal communication is 80% of communication. It's not always the words that we say. It's how we non-verbally communicate. Okay? Sometimes you're talking to someone and they're standing there with their arms folded. And what does that tell you? Does that tell you that they are openly listening and taking in what you're saying? No. That means usually that they're guarded. Or if someone says to you, "Oh, I'm very happy for you," versus, "I'm very happy for you." What did that first one tell you? Not really. I'm not really that happy for you. So understand that power of nonverbal communication. So I'm going to go back to something when I was a teenager, and I was in the choir at church, and there was this kind of older lady, and she was singing. And the way she would sing, she would ooh, 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 ooh. She would sing "Bless This House," and she loved this song. And because she was this member of this church for a long time, whenever she requested to, that to sing, they would let her sing. And she would go, "Bless this house." So now I'm a teenager, right? And I'm sitting in there quiet. What am I doing? I'm laughing. And my girlfriend sitting next to me, we are laughing so hard. I turned around, looked out in the congregation. What did I see? I saw some non-verbal communication from my mother. She didn't have to say anything. It was the look. Now, a lot of us um, who, I guess my age, a little younger, we always talk about the look. Moms didn't have to say anything. It was the look. I think my son probably knows the look. Non-verbal communication. It's the tone of your voice. It's your facial expressions. And it's your body language. Think about when you're having this conversation with your mom, with your daughter, with anyone. Think about that. How are you expressing yourself? You're using your words, but what's behind those words? Now, there's another one, got a little itch. There's another one that I found out, and it's called micro expressions. Now, you have probably seen this and you've done it. It's the expression that it goes poof, right across someone's eyes, and you've done it too. And it's involuntary, but it takes a lot of practice to control that. So let's say this. Someone, you're looking for something, you're going to buy something, to purchase something, and they tell, and you ask, well, how much is this? And they come up with an exorbitant amount of money. Well, involuntarily, and let's say you don't want to let them know what you're thinking, but involuntarily, that's going to go right across your eyes. It takes a lot to control that. So what I want you, there's myself. What I want you to do when you're having a conversation with anyone, check out that micro expression. All righty. So that's a very powerful non-verbal way that people communicate. All right, let's say you're having this conversation and it's maybe a misunderstanding. Number 9, apologize when it is necessary, especially if you realize you've overstepped a boundary. Acknowledge it and apologize. Who is that for? Actually, it's more for you than for the other person. Because when you apologize, then you've owned up to whatever it is, maybe you said, or the way you looked, or your body language, or any of the things that I've talked about previously. And I said in the beginning, we talked about internal boundaries. Number 10, establish clear boundaries. You can discuss about your boundaries. There might be things or topics that you really don't want to talk about. You let that person know that up front. And when you respect someone else's boundaries, that gives you, it's crucial to healthy communication. So as I said, this is about adult daughters and their moms, or mothers and daughters, but you can use any of this in any conversation. If the person says to you, I don't want to talk about it, don't push it. That is their boundaries, because it makes them really feel uncomfortable. So and talk about your boundaries, what it is that you really, don't want to talk about. It'll make you either extremely sad, it'll bring up a memory, or it's just something that you're uncomfortable talking about. So establish those clear boundaries. And the next one is seek feedback. Every so often, ask for feedback on how you communicate, because we always think that, oh, I'm a great communicator. People understand everything I say. Not necessarily. We always want to make improvements in the way we communicate. I remember my good friend, my best friend, well, no, my second best friend. uh, she said to me when she first met me how I seemed haughty, and that sometimes I would come across that way. And I really didn't know that. She gave me feedback, but you can do that yourself. You can ask, you know what? How do I communicate? Um, when I'm speaking with you, when I'm talking with you, how do I sound to you? Am I getting across to you like I want to? What do you feel when we're having a conversation? Ask for feedback. How do I communicate? Practice empathy. That's the next one. Always strive to understand and be understanding. You got to remember, mothers, adult daughters, and mothers. Yeah. You come from different generations. Okay. And when you come from different generations, you usually have different perspectives. You see things differently. So, oh God, there's so again. Sometimes acknowledge that your differences can be a path to mutual respect. I know we'll say, oh, that's old fashioned. Old, they don't do that anymore. They don't talk like that anymore. They don't have those same kind of ideas. But you have to remember, two different generations. You can look at that when we talk about music. There is Frank Sinatra, back then, ballads, love ballads. You can go from there. You can go to rhythm and blues. You can go to blues. You can go to right now, rap, hip hop. Well, I don't understand. I like hip hop, but some rap I understand, some rap I don't. However, I respect the younger generation if that's what they like. So I have to respect the way that they feel. Mothers, daughters, just because mom did it like that and mom is saying this, respect that. That's the way she grew up. Moms, your adult daughter, she thinks a different way. Respect that. That's her generation. And engage in regular check ins. So, what does that mean? Take the time to regularly check on each other's feelings and the state of your relationship. Don't go along just skipping along, thinking that everything is fine. Check in, make sure that everything is fine. And then when you do check in, not, okay, so how are you feeling? And they say fine. Look and see. How are they saying that? maybe they're not. In other words, when I say check in, dive a little deeper, especially if you've seen that, wait a minute, when I I I call my mom, um, she doesn't sound like she normally sounds. And you say to your mom, well, how you doing, mother? And she says, I'm fine. Ah. Or you used to talking to her every day, moms. I'm going to say this to moms. Normally, your daughter calls you every day or every other day, and you're wondering, wait a minute, she normally calls me every other day, or when we talk, we have this nice long conversation. But here lately, number one, she's not calling me as often, and number two, she wants to hurry up and get off the phone. Okay, and then you ask her, well, how are you doing? How you feeling? Oh, I'm fine. Check in, ask, just say, well, I noticed this is happening. You normally you call me every other day or every day, whatever it is, and we have such really nice conversations. We laugh and talk a lot, but I noticed that here lately that's not happening. you Tell what's going on. Let's talk about our relationship. So engage in regular check-ins, checkups. Do that, moms and daughters. Do that with your friends. Do that with your colleagues. Do that with your significant others. Regular check-ins. Now, let's say you're doing all of this and your relationship is going kaput, and the communication is extremely challenging. If you value that relationship, there is nothing wrong with seeking professional guidance. Nothing wrong with it, because we can't always handle it ourselves. And usually if you get a relationship coach, get some counseling or even some therapy, it will facilitate better conversations and better relationships. So I really want to know from you, what do you think about this? What do you think about all this? Am I giving you some value? Is this helping, or is this like, okay, I already know this? What I need some feedback. And my phone is buzzing. And actually, what I tried to do is some of the questions that I got, uh, I was covering them as I was speaking. And okay, so I'm getting something else. Okay, someone said, you are right on target. And then the other person said, I'm going to get my daughter to watch this. So that's about it. I got a couple of other things that I want to let you know about. Something that a lot of you out there who are entrepreneurs, women are entrepreneurs, thinking about being entrepreneurs, or just want to watch some dynamic speakers. So let me tell you what's going on. What's going on tomorrow evening and Saturday. It's called the Limitless Experience for Women. Look at all of the dynamic speakers. There will be panels. There will be women talking about our finances, our relationships, just all kinds of things. Oh my goodness, who is that right there? Now, this is a financial expert right here. I can tell you that she has helped me tremendously. So now there's this QR code, and you can scan the QR code, and then you can go right into it now. Or just to let you know, I am a featured speaker. And this right here is the QR code. Now, if you would like, also, what you can do is go to my Facebook page. And if you go to my Facebook page, it's on there. And that's Janice Hooker Fortman. And you just scan that QR code and it'll take you right to it. I also put the URL code in the comments, and you can click on that. What I want to tell you, and this is not just because I'm going to be on it, this is going to be an awesome, dynamic experience. These women, you're going to get so much value. And I think I have a free gift for you. And there will be other free gifts there and some surprises. When I say some surprises, I mean some surprise gifts. So I want to see you either tomorrow evening. It's from tomorrow evening from 5 to 9. And then on Saturday, it starts at 10. And I believe it's over at 3 or 5. But if you miss this, I'm telling you right now, you are going to regret it. Well, that's about it for today. And I really hope that I've given you some value. I see some comments, and I want to thank you so much for the comments. And there were no questions, but a lot of comments. So yes, share this with your daughters. Share this with your mom. And I've got a little commercial that I'd like you to watch right now. Okay, I'm back. And what is that book called? Here it is, right here. The Secrets to How Not to Throw Mama from the Train. It's all about how to navigate the challenges in the adult daughter aging mother relationship. It's my journey, and it's the journey of other women who decided that they wanted to be a part of this book. So it's what can I say? Let's see, what can I say? It's serious. It's like a memoir, but there is there are some laughs in this book from different women who decided that they wanted to contribute, and a little levity in the book. But if you would like an autographed copy, you can reach me on Jan, the number 4, NOW125 @gmail.com. And you will get an autographed copy, and I will give you a half-hour discovery call. And what I do with this discovery call, we just have a conversation. And then you can let me know if you have any something you want to discuss, some issue that you're having, and we can just have that half an hour conversation. And if it's something really, really serious that you would like to talk about, if something that I can't help you with, then I will refer you to someone. So I hope that I have given you some value, and I hope that you've enjoyed our conversation. I want to thank you all for your comments. I really appreciate it. And I will see you again next week. So I want another song. Stop putting that in the comments. That's why I'm saying it. I want you to have a beautifully blessed morning, afternoon, or evening. And remember, there are all kinds of relationships, and all kinds of relationship matters. And life is all about our relationships. See you again next time. Take care and have a beautifully blessed morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.